Well, it's a beautiful Saturday and we are back on set to give you nothing but the best in terms of sports. We've got a lot to talk about today, where we look at the CAF slots and maybe we take a look at the the squad that has already brought debate here when we are out of the set. But I'm your host, Amos, aka Amore, and welcome to Off the Pitch, the show that comes your way every Saturday at 9:30 hours. And I'm not alone on set. I'm joined by one Uncle Rapson and Augustine. Uncle Rapson, welcome to the show.
A very lovely morning to our dear viewers for joining us this Saturday, and it's been a fantastic week full of great news, full of transfers, national team co-ops, and a lot more that we are going to discuss this morning. But nevertheless, very, very proud of our good Lord Jesus Christ for giving us yet another bright summer morning day, winter morning day, which is full of very, very chilly weather. And I hope everybody else out there is keeping warm as you listen to nothing but the best of what we do on Saturday morning.
Augustine.
Thank you very much, Amos. We return all the glory and honor to the Most High God. It's always a pleasure to be on this set. It's been an eventful week. We've seen a lot of clubs strengthening during this period. We've seen Cleans Kangwa made his Red Star upgrade during the week. We have got a lot to unpack for the viewers out there.
Like Augustine has said, you've seen a lot of teams strengthening their squads. But anyway, all hope leads to Old Trafford, where they are still marketing and still trying to find someone. But anyway, we'll just take a very short break as we get back and look at the COSAFA team that was selected. And maybe you can also give a comment on what's your take on the squad that was selected. And later on in the show, we'll be joined by one coach who we won't mention as at now, but he's already here in the studios, but he'll join us later on. So for now, we'll just take a very short break.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet Channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
Some interesting happenings within the course of the week, where we saw some slots being taken away from our teams. But anyway, we'll go straight into the COSAFA 2022 COSAFA team that was selected, and some names that my colleagues here feel like they don't deserve to be on this list. And at some point, we just have to be fair enough to select players that really performed within the course of the 2022 season. But anyway, we'll just kickstart it with first, let me start. The tournament will run from July 5th to the 17th. That's in Durban, South Africa. But for now, let's just take a quick look at the names that made the squad. We'll start with the goalkeeping department. We have Sirio Chiwe, who is now a Zesco United player, though he tried to do the darlings. And we've got Lawrence Mulenga from Power Dynamos, Charles Kalumba, Red Arrows. Before you go to the defenders, is there any surprising name that you have here?
Well, from the goalkeeping department, I have really got no issues. Sirio Chiwe has been clubless for a bit, and now that he's finding his feet at Zesco United, he's going to face very, very stiff competition from here in Otenyo there. But when you look at the goalkeeping department, Charles Kalumba has been very fantastic for Red Arrows, and not surprising that he's made the call. And Lawrence Mlenga has been very, very good, if you ask me, for Power Dynamos as well. And well, for the goalkeeping department, probably Sirio Mwenyachwe is coming in because Chan is being used as a preparatory stage for the World Cup qualifiers that the AFCON and World Cup qualifiers that are coming up for the national team. And to get a goalkeeper of his experience, who's been part of the national team setup for a bit now, to go and just expose his experience and his talent at the Chan, I think for me it's a very, very good decision to get him there, because he needs that game time. He really needs that game time for him to get his confidence back. Remember, he's been clubless for a bit. He just came to the national team and he's been very lukewarm for the national team. He really deserves to be in that national squad there that is going to participate at Chan. And for me, really, the goalkeeping department, no problems, no qualms.
And for that,
other goalkeepers that could have made it, but I think generally the three, because we can't get 5, we can't get 6.
maybe just an emphasis to those, because there are certain people who would want to ask to say, where is Tostan Savata on this list? Because, you know, we have got different ways of understanding certain things. Oh. Maybe a bit of explanation, perhaps, on this election. Yeah, still in South Africa.
No. Chan is a locally. It's a tournament that takes place on the African continent, and it features players who are playing in the local league of the participating countries only. So for all the players that you are seeing that will be mentioned on the list so far, I think Amos has only discussed the 3 goalkeepers. All those goalkeepers are people that are players that are actually playing that trade in the local Zambian Super League, Eden Division 1, and all these other leagues under the supervision of the Football Association of Zambia. So it's purely a locally assembled national squad, and they're going to face their colleagues who also have the same phenomenon of picking players that are going to participate. It's purely meant to expose the African talent that is still playing their trade in the local, in the locally based countries that are participating.
So that's I think an explanation enough. The names that are being selected here, because I know some of the fans would want to find out, to say, no, where's Tostan Savata? Why didn't they cook Kennedy Mwene? No, because that's how people are.
I think to me, I would like to disagree a bit with Ankorapson, because I think if Sirio Chiwem needs game time, he needs to get that at this football club. A national team is not a rehabilitation center. No. There are goalkeepers like Kenneth Mange. He should have been on that list. Looking at what he did for Green Eagles in the past season, he should be on that list and not Sirio Mwenyachiwe. Lawrence Mlenga, he's had ups and downs at Power Dynamos, but the last 10 to 8 games for Power Dynamos, he was very, very outstanding. Charles Kalumba, yes, he has had a good season at Red Arrows. He deserves to be there. But I felt Sirio Mwenyachiwe shouldn't be part of the team in place of Kenneth Mwanga.
Like I said, probably the biggest reason why Sirio is even making the squad, it's looking at the preparatory games that will be coming up after Chan. Of course, we have Tosta, who's already almost like guaranteed in that goalkeeping department when it comes to the AFCON qualifiers. So the question you should ask yourself is, should we continue making experiments on players, on goalkeepers, that can go and participate at Chan, and probably deny Sirio the experience? He's been on a positive growth. Remember, this is a young goalkeeper that we need to groom, and the guy was clubless for a bit. The question is very, very psychological here. How do you then motivate a player who's been clubless for a bit, but you still need him for the long term at national team level?
So the question is,
my point here is, he shouldn't even be the one playing in goals.
I get the point.
He's going there probably to expose, to get that exposure, to get that confidence back. Of course, he's going to battle back at Zesco United. Probably won't even
exactly. That's my question. What if you're playing at national team level, then he goes to Zesco United and he doesn't get game time? Are you going to give him a chance again at national team level? Looking at goalkeepers, I would have loved to see a Napsa Stars goalkeeper in there in Rodwell. He has had a very, very brilliant season for Napsa Stars, and we need to try and reward these performances with a national team call-up. He's a very, very young goalkeeper, very, very athletic. He should have been part of this team.
But again, Uncle Rapson, here comes a thing where someone has been clubless. The access or maybe the confidence would have been gained maybe if he was to travel with the pre-season, with the team Zesco United.
Well, when it comes to being clubless and getting a new club, of course, it's not easy to move from one club to the other. And now this goalkeeper has been clubless for a bit, and now Zesco United announced their squad for pre-season, and they need to be leaving for pre-season. And this is a goalkeeper that instead of going for pre-season, he will probably shift his focus and go to the national team, and he will not have time to train with his Zesco United players. And remember, Zesco United CAF representatives as well. So probably it can be an advantage and a disadvantage, because now he's denying himself a point to prove himself at Zesco United that is able to challenge for that goalkeeping position when the season begins. Because remember, this tournament is taking place from the 5th
to the 17th.
To the 17th. So you probably have 2 more weeks after they come back. So supposedly they play the finals on the 17th. It means that he'll probably have 2 weeks to train with Zesco United.
This guy would have been running in sand in Mongo with Zesco United.
That's the whole issue. But then let's go let's go at the defenders, Augustine. I'm sure you still will disagree on 1 or 2. We've got Prosper, Alan Kapila, Benedict Sepeshi, all Red Arrows, Shemi Mayembe, Zesco United, Luka Banda, Napsa Stars, Dominic Chanda, Kawe Warriors, Warren Kunda, Green Eagles. These are the defenders that were selected to represent us.
Yeah. If I have to be honest, I've seen a Green Eagles player there in Warren Kunda. Warren Kunda, yes, he has had a decent season, but has he had the better season than the player has been playing alongside with in Shapi Chikondinjov. I think the youngster has had a very, very good season at Green Eagles. His first season at in the Super League, and he's played very, very well for Green Eagles. I would have expected to have seen Shapi in that team ahead of Warren Kunda. What are you going to get from Warren Kunda? How old is Warren Kunda? And what are you going to get from Warren Kunda at this stage of his career, playing at the COSAFA tournament? Looking at the selection, question marks will be at left back. You go with only Prosper Chiluya. Are you guaranteeing Prosper Chiluya to be starting? Because there's no competition in there. I would have loved to see maybe Jack Ngulube. Yes, GPFC has had a poor second half of the season, but Jack Ngulube was one of their best players. In terms of set plays, he's always a reliable guy when it comes to set pieces for Green Buffaloes. Maybe John Chishimba, young John Chishimba, who had done very well at Zesco United, trying to push Kapumbu for the left back positions. We would have loved to see him in this setup, rather than just going with one left back in Prosper Chiluya, meaning we're guaranteeing Prosper Chiluya the slot at left back. Centre half, Dominic Chanda, very, very reliable. He's Mr. Reliable. He's Mr. Reliable. How many good defenders do you have in the Zambian Super League better than Dominic Chanda? Right back, there's no competition.
When Dominic was tormented at Edwin Imboya Stadium.
Every defender has that. Even Virgil van Dijk was tormented in the final by Vinicius Junior. It happens to every defender, even if it's the top defender in the world. If you look at the right back, healthy competition, Benedict Sepeshi going head to head with Shemi Mayembe, that's very, very good. All in all, I would have loved to see Shapi Chikondinjov, who had a very, very good season.
And that is where
Luka Banda, good season for helping Napsa Stars bounce back, and he deserves a place in this team.
A quick one on this.
On the defenders.
On the defenders.
I think I share a different view on Warren. The Warren has been one of the most consistent defenders that Green Eagles has. Of course, Shapi has been there. We've seen how the two pairings, how they play, and in most cases, I think it's also important to look at a combination of the players at the back line that the coach is trying to create. If you look at the age of Warren Kunda and the young players that he has, probably he will be the oldest defender amongst the ones that have been called to the national team. And that's a little bit of experience that you need, somebody who can hold the youngsters together. They'll be doing the job, they'll be doing the donkey work. Even in training, there's that level of respect that you need even as you are training. I think for me, Warren Kunda deserves that call at that level of football because he's nearing retirement anyway. So a couple two wouldn't hit.
So let him feel.
A couple two for the national team wouldn't hit for him to say I once played for the
Sevilla.
Because he's been a very, very great player, very consistent for Green Eagles Football Club.
Let's look at the midfielders department. We've got Kelvin Kapumbu, Zanako, Saddam Piri, Red Arrows, Prince Mumba, Kawe Warriors, Patrick Gondwe, and Harrison Chisala, both Ngana, Kelvin Kampamba, Spencer Sabutu, Zesco United, Albert Kangwanda, Red Arrows, and Abraham Siankombo, Zanaco. And then here we already have got a comment from Hendrix Mumba Chombolola, and he's saying watching Chiwe Chisala and Mukeya don't deserve those co-ops, though we haven't reached that on the strikers.
Augustine, you have to go first.
I'll pick
When
it.
you look at when you look at the midfielders that have been caught up, I have a lot of questions around the players that have been caught up there. If you look at, let's look at my very own Harrison Chisala, Ghana Football Club player. How many games, what contribution has he made to Ghana Football Club in the past season? Probably close to zero. Half the season the guy was injured. He played a couple of few games from the substitute bench. There's literally very little contribution that he made to the team. Patrick Gondwe, an upcoming midfielder, he's done one or two things quite okay in the last few games for Ghana Football Club. Abraham Siankombo for Zanaco Football Club. He's been a player that is very, very upcoming player, very talented player. We can see that every time he starts a game for Zanaco, every time he's coming in from the bench, he makes that huge difference in the team. So those are some of the players for me that deserve to be part of the team. Of course, when you look at Prince Mumba for me shouldn't even have been part of this team for a very simple reason. This guy has developed into a very, very
Senior player, yeah.
So this should have been time to try and play the young ones. Okay, not really young ones, he's also young. Those that require to have that exposure to create the much needed competition in the main team. But this is a guy who's from playing World Cup qualifiers, AFCON qualifiers at a very high level. You bring him back in this team. Probably the disadvantage of having such players getting into such a tournament is that probably they'll be looking down on their fellow players to say, guys, I play with the big boys. You guys
You wanna
looking
chill
at
with
me
the
as a
big boys.
boy now. So it brings that anxiety and that disbelief, that disconnect in the team. For me, he shouldn't even have been part of the team. Of course, talent-wise, he deserves to be in the team. But I think because this is a developmental team that is going to COSAFA, that has the chance set up in it, he shouldn't have been there. We should have had different players that would have made the squad in that team.
Augustine.
Yeah, I think looking at the midfielders that have been selected, my question is that what has Hosea Sirimba done wrong to Zambian football? Probably the best holding midfielder last season in the league. He's been outstanding for Green Eagles. He's the guy that will always recycle the ball for Green Eagles. He's the guy that will break up the opposition's attack, and he's very, very good. He's a box-to-box kind of midfielder. He's very, very efficient. He's good with long range and short range passing, but he just can't find his place in the national team, which is a very, very big surprise for me, because Hosea Sirimba has been one of the most outstanding midfielders in the league. Yusuf Saddam, he deserves that call-up. He's been very, very good for Red Arrows, one of their key players, and he played a very, very instrumental role in seeing Red Arrows being crowned champions. It's good to see him in the national team, and I've also had questions, why are we adding players like Kelvin Kampamba Mwanga in this setup?
The same.
Exactly. Dominic Chanda. Why are we adding the Dominic Chandas in this setup? Because those guys are challenging for those top slots at the main national team. When the qualifiers are up, you see Dominic Chanda, you see Kelvin Kampamba Mwanga. What do you want to see in Kelvin Kampamba Mwanga at the COSAFA tournament that you have not seen at the biggest stage in World Cup qualifiers and Africa qualifiers? I think, to me, we should try and do away with getting already established national team players into this tournament. Even the likes of Benedict Chepesh, I do not think they have to be here. Yes, exactly, because these guys have to be challenging for those slots for the Africa Cup qualifiers and World Cup qualifiers, not for the COSAFA tournament. If the Football Association of Zambia can try and restructure how this COSAFA team is done, it will be good for Zambian football. Let's try and field maybe under 23 players who haven't had a lot of exposure at international level, because if you remember, under 23 are the most dominant national setup in Zambia, because they play maybe after 4 years. So you won't see these players after 4 years what happens when from under 20 to the senior national team, there is no monitoring because we are not having tournaments for the under 23. We can use this COSAFA tournament to try and see how we can try and come up with the under 23 team, which will be a feeder to the main national soccer team. And in my own view, I would love to have a situation whereby for the COSAFA tournament, we give it to local coaches who we see as potential pro coaches, because we always throw these people in the deep end, giving them the senior national soccer team, Africa qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers, and then they falter when they reach that stage. Probably we can try and review how we are doing things. Let's try and give the COSAFA to a local coach and let him select under 23 players, or maybe probably those players that haven't had a feel of national team, like Yusuf Saddam, the players that have done very well in the league, to try and set up a team. And we have to look at this tournament as developmental, because what we gain by winning the COSAFA? Nothing. We have been missing out at the Africa Cup of Nations 3 times, and we are not even winning it for that matter. There was even a plate where they had introduced a plate at some point, and we were even failing to win the plate. So what are we doing?
And let's look at the strikers department, where we have one Jimmy Mukea, Napsa Stars,
Zobrigo,
Ricky Banda, Red Arrows, Enoch Sakara Jr., Zesco United, Joshua Mutale, Power Dynamo. Is this the stage at which Ricky Banda has to show his potential at national team level? Exactly. Yes. This is a tournament for rookies, for lack of a better term. This is a tournament for rookies, people that are known. We've seen players like Rainford Kalawa announce themselves at such tournaments. Remember the COSAFA in South Africa, Collins Tofan Besumai announced himself at this tournament. So probably it's the best platform for a Ricky Banda, for a Yusuf Saddam, for a young...
for Warren Kono.
Probably we would have seen Osea Sirimba even part of this tournament, because it's a tournament which you will try and introduce them to the international stage, which is very unforgiving. It's a very, very big stage. It's very, very challenging when you go to that level. So the COSAFA will try and it doesn't have the same pressure with playing AFCON qualifiers. So better test Ricky Banda in such games so that you see him grow and develop into a striker that you want him to be.
One player that doesn't deserve to be in that squad is actually one of our very own. And when I say our very own, I have a very, very soft spot for Napsa Stars, and I've been watching them throughout the season. To see Jimmy Mukea making the squad, he's a very, very talented player. But the question is, what value has he added to Napsa Stars in the past season? How many games has he played for Napsa Stars this season? What difference has he made for Napsa Stars this season for him to be considered in this type of national team color? For me, he doesn't deserve to be in that squad, to be honest. But this is a player that has the talent. He's done it before in the past. Probably he's trying to resuscitate his career. But I think the people who select the national team, they leave a lot to be desired. I would like to understand their mode of selection which they use, because in every job description, because remember, these are jobs, these are strikers. You've got to look at what are you looking for, what characteristics are you looking for in a striker. How many goals has this person scored? How many assists has this person made? Is this guy a midfielder? How many assists has he made? How many goals has he scored? You have to define all those parameters, and then you start getting players to fit in those positions, not getting positions to fit the players. The opposite is what these guys are doing.
Exactly.
What should happen now is, for me, Ricky Banda, even if nobody mentioned about Ricky Banda, I would have laughed if he was missing on that list. This is a guy who's done everything that Red Arrows needed in the past season.
And in the game, maybe I'm perhaps on just a quick one. Let's look at how...
Maybe you should tell me why don't we have Alassana Diarra here? Why don't we have Alassana Diarra here? The guy has been fantastic for Red Arrows.
So you want the Marian to be playing for Zambia?
Just joking.
I know.
We were just going through the squad that will represent us at the COSAFA tournament that will be held in South Africa. And it will start on the 5th till the 17th. But about now, we'll just take a very short break as we come back and take a look at the roads to NAPSA's coming back into the MTN Super League and how stressful it was for them in the end, though it wasn't stressful. But we'll take a short break as we'll be joined on set by our guest for the day.
Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
We testify. We celebrate for all you've done. Lord, we give you all the praise. Oh, we testify. We celebrate. Oh, Lord, we give you all the praise.
They were not there when God created you. The Bible says, I knew you before I placed you in your mother's womb.
Apples and bananas. Working, waiting, this what you've been praying for.
It's a lovely morning, and we'd like to welcome back all of your dear viewers who've been glued to the TV to watch nothing but the best of what we do in the studio, discussing the very best of Zambian football. We have in our studio been joined by a very, very exciting man, a man that got NAPSA Stars from where they were after being relegated to the university in the first year, and without completing the 4-year course that normally degree holders get to the graduation ceremony. They graduated in the very first season of their attempt on the exams, and now at the ABSA Cup winning Coach Perry Mutapa has joined us in the studio this morning to discuss nothing but how the road to success has been for NAPSA Stars and the preparations for next season. Coach Perry, a very lovely morning to you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, and good morning, viewers.
Augustine, Coach Perry, the man that disappointed you on that very festive day, and now he's with us this morning. And now, Coach Perry, a very quick cover. First of all, let me begin by congratulating you for being the ABSA Cup champion with NAPSA Stars, and to all members of staff, management, and the entire players of NAPSA Stars, a big congratulations from us at Camnet TV for being the ABSA champions of 2022, and now you are back in the Zambian Super Division. Let's quickly look at the road to your qualification back to the Zambian Super League before we focus on the biggest achievement of the year, the only cup that is available in the Zambian soccer fraternity.
Thank you once more, but I can say it wasn't easy. It was a tough one, more especially to qualify. You need to be in the top two of the National League, which wasn't easy again. So, and if you recall, our first game, we lost to City of Lusaka. And I think after the game, when we sat analyzing, I told myself and the people I was with that it was good that we lost this first game, so that the players should wake up. And true to the word, we woke up, and the second game, third game, I think we are in the top 4 from the second or third game of the season. So it was quite a tough journey.
It was a very tough journey, very consistent. I remember you and I having quite a couple of discussions during the course of the season, and consistency seemed to have worked after the first loss. When you look at the first game that you lost to City of Lusaka, probably you were all at home in that game. And I saw in the second match, I think in the first game you used one of the veteran goalkeepers, and I think you brought in competition. You went and brought in one of the youngest players that probably myself and Augustine, we are actually talking about, this goalkeeper Rodwo Mkwanya, who's been a very fantastic addition. How did you see that talent from young NAPSA Stars to be co-opted at a time when you needed that competition in that goal?
I think Rapson did well, but Rodwell, the first time I I had my training session. I think I was asking Coach Sipo that I think this goalkeeper is good with his feet and his agility. I think he's one of the best in Zambia. So the goalkeeper rose to the occasion, and I think even in the APSA, I think he was one of the contenders for player of the tournament. Yeah. So I think he was a revelation for us and the Eden League.
Augustine, please
Yeah.
feel free to chip in.
Yeah, very, very impressive. I think, like Coach has mentioned, Rodro was very, very outstanding. And one player who I picked out from Napsa Stars last season was Msondaka Pembwa. Having spent on loan at Beautycon the previous season, he didn't see a lot of game time at Napsa Stars, then went to Beautycon, and then came back as a different player. How was it working with Msondaka Pembwa and the goals that he got you to try and get back into the Premier League?
It was easy for Muzo because I think Muzo is someone who wants to learn every day. So there are some players, I think, sometimes if you talk to them every now and then, they feel like maybe you are just troubling them. But for Muzo, it's different. It's someone, if he doesn't understand, you come to you and ask, Coach, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? So it's someone who wants to learn every day, and it's easy for a footballer, and in fact for every person in life, because we are going to learn every day, even coaches, everyone involved. So for Muzo, I think the best thing is for him, he has got that listening eye.
You went in the January window, Coach. You brought Sidney Kalume. You made another signing. Was it Chaniza Zulu?
And
how important were the
left back.
And the left back, Joseph Zulungu. How important were your signings halfway through the season to try and see you through the race?
Yeah, very important in the sense that, you know, obviously, if you don't have depth, and we used almost the same teams, the same lineup from the start until the end of the first round. So to bring in experienced players like Sidin and Joseph, it was very important to refresh the squad. Chaniza obviously is not that experienced, but a very, very good player. As well, one of the contenders for the APSA
Player of the tournament.
Player of the tournament for me. So I think those are the guys, I think, who brought in the much needed freshness to make sure we get back to the Premier League and of course winning the APSA.
Well, very outstanding performance from Napsa Stars, if you ask me, in the second round. Very, very consistent. Towards the end of the qualifiers in the Eden, you got some few threats. Napsa Stars dropped some points at a critical time when Mvaite Mufria Wanderers and Changa Rangers were breathing neck to neck, very close to that third slot. At that point, Coach, how did you feel the pressure of maintaining the same squad and getting the desired results to get to where we are now?
If I remember very well, I think there was a time the APSA was supposed to be played on the 16th. Then we had a game against Police College. We almost changed the entire lineup.
Yes.
So there were some people who were asking, but Coach, why we haven't qualified yet? Why are you changing the lineup, feeding in players who have had little game time? But I was like, the people, you know, supporters from Rangers, Maite, they were like, they already had overtaken NAPSA. But for me, because I was telling the players, we don't have to feel the pressure. Because Mchanga by then and Maite, I think they were 6-7 points behind us. So where was the pressure coming from? I think it's from the fans, but from the team, from the technical bench, and that's the players. We said, are they going to win all the games? If they are going to win all the games, also, there are only little games left, so we are also going to win. So it's them who should feel the pressure. So for us, it's just that people, you know, in football, they will start talking, and if you are not careful as the coach, the team, then you are bound to not do well.
Well, I remember very well that very weekend, Coach Perry, I was part of the traveling party that went and watched that game in Chilanga, where Police College hosted NAPSA Stars, and we had to watch that game. I think in one of the discussions for another day is actually the type of pitch that Police College uses, and even for the fans to watch that game, we had to improvise. We were probably sitting on top of our cars to watch that game. We saw a very, very different lineup, coach, and you gave chance to a lot of players who would have been in camp on that very day for the ABSA Cup final. ABSA was shifted. You made the changes to the team. The same belief, the same tactics worked, and you emerged victorious on that day. Are you, from that particular game, I'm beginning to understand the type of legacy and the type of philosophy that you are teaching in these players is very, very consistent, if you ask me, because the other team, I saw Muzo watching, Sydney Kalume was with me, we were watching from the terraces with those players. Every other player you gave a chance to, they had that self-belief to say the coach believes in us, and they delivered for you. For me, consistency has been key for NAPSA Stars.
Yeah, that's the most important thing in football, and it was very important to give the other guys game time to show what they have, because football, everyone should be on their toes so that they compete. The more you have competition in training, the more you do well in the actual game. So no one should be happy that this is my position. Football, you should be consistent in most of the games, but if you play 2 games, the other 2 games you don't play well. For me, I think I don't take that. You must be consistent, but there are times when we'll see, okay, he has played a lot of games, maybe the schedule was very tight, so maybe we should give this one chance, or he should play maybe less minutes. We understand that, but if the schedule is not tight and maybe you just play 2 games well, the other 2 games not good, then I think it's a letdown for the team.
Let's look at the road to the ABSA Cup final for NAPSA Stars. Probably we had 2 graduating students that participated in the ABSA. We had Lumwana Radiance and NAPSA Stars who joined the Zambian Super League teams that made the cut of 8 that participated in the ABSA Cup final. Remember, ABSA is the only cup that is available on the Zambian continent, on the Zambian Super League, probably in the soccer fraternity. It's the only cup that we have, and this particular cup, a team that is coming from Eden National Division 1 emerged victorious, and that is NAPSA Stars. How easy was it, or how difficult was it when you look at your giant killing instincts from game 1 on the Copper Belt at Arthur Davis Stadium?
Yeah, I should say it was quite tough, because at that point I think we are third on the log, and obviously a lot of people, you know, with this social media, the players are on that platform. Obviously NAPSA, they are third. They are playing Green Buffaloes. I think we are 4th.
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously, to some boys, they when they see that the confidence is low. So, but for us, we said in the beginning of the season, we said we have to fight for the ABSA and get promoted to the Premier League. So that game against Green Buffaloes, and we are very fortunate to play Green Buffaloes, because even them at that time, I think
They
were not doing so well.
Yeah, true.
So we're happy with the draw. We didn't start very well in that. Yeah, we considered first in the first maybe 10-15 minutes, which wasn't good. But I think as the game progressed, we told the guys not to consider another goal, and we were happy, because after 20 minutes, it was still 1-0. But we knew that the boys were going to grow in confidence, and which we did. We won on penalties, and everything is history now.
Everything is history. Let's look at the final. We are going to pass the semi-finals. I don't want to discuss the semi-finals. Let's look at the finals. And I know the semi-finals, it's simple because it involves
Nkana.
NAPSA Stars were giant killers in the semi-finals. They met Nkana Football Club, and it was a game of chance, a game that broke my heart, a game that was neither here nor there, where you have Napsa Stars that had Nkana Football Club, but had, at the end of the day, one team emerged victorious, and that was Napsa Stars, and they went all the way to play in the finals. Coach Perry, you were meeting Red Arrows Football Club in the finals, a team that had gone 33 games with only 4 losses, and now you were meeting the potential champions in the making, and I think by then they were almost declared.
Already.
They were actually already declared with a game in hand to play as champions of Zambian Super League, and now a team of Napsa Stars caliber who was dwindling between second and third, with very high competition from Musa and Lumwana Radiants for that top slot in the Eden National Division 1. How did you plan the downfall of a team that had only gone 4 games with defeat, and they were champions of the Zambian Super League? And we all saw how free-scoring Red Arrows had been on the run prior to the finals. We know how Benedict Chepeshi would overlap on the right, cross the center line. Immediately after the center line, Benedict Chepeshi has that trademark cross, which always finds Ricky Banda or James Chabanga up there to finish up. A lot of teams in the Zambian Super League were eliminated because of these antics from the 2 wing backs of Red Arrows. How did you manage to curtail that, including their midfield? Because I don't want to preempt what I know happened, but I think it will be a pleasure to just ask you to share with us on how really you managed to psych your players to beat a team of Red Arrows caliber at the peak of their game in the Zambian Super League.
Yes, at their peak, and I think they played the best football. Red Arrows, I watched them a lot of times, and they were just a team to beat, and they were scoring goals for fun. It wasn't easy, but immediately it was even shifted to the 30th instead of the 16th. We sat with the technical bench. We said, this is good for us, so that we have enough time again to study them. Yes, and then by then, obviously, the journey coming back to the Super League
was also receiving some threats.
Yes, you can call that, but to qualify, it has to be confirmed.
Yeah,
so we played the final after already qualifying to the Premier League. Yeah. So it was a motivation, but again, the time we are afforded to study Red Arrows, and we could meet people. They could say they are going to give you 4, they are going to beat you. I remember in the pre-match, I think, I don't know, someone asked, are you daring Red Arrows? I said, no, they are the best team, but within our camp, we knew what we are going to do. You have already said about Chepeshi, about Prosper, but of course, you can't forget about Diarra, those runs he makes in the penalty box, but of course, even the play from him. So we had to cut all the... We marked about 5 or 6. If they have the ball, then it means you are not going to survive. And we just did that. We are happy because we said these guys must be substituted. But it's not easy for a defender to get substituted, which is Chepeshi and Prosper. But the ones we said in the midfield and in front, and they were substituted. So we knew that this game is done.
Great,
yeah. And immediately I remember after the final we had the show here and people were saying Red Arrows underrated Napsa Stars, and I was like, no, you're taking away the hard work that was put in by Napsa Stars, because you cannot just come and say Red Arrows underrated Napsa. Napsa Stars outsmarted the Red Arrows, and I remember after the game I went to the coach and said that was a masterclass. I think that was a plan which was very well executed, and we must say the brave 11 players that stepped onto the field, they did the job very, very well, like the coach had planned. Because players like Muzo, the player we talked about, he was asked to do something different. He was asked to hold on to the ball and link others into play. Muzo likes to run at people. If he was doing that, probably would have been losing the ball, and Red House would have capitalized on that. But he took to the plan of the coach, and he did very well. Towards the last minutes of the game, we saw the coach bringing on Jimmy Mukea to try and stretch Red House so that they did not send a lot of men going forward. You could have seen that it was a very, very well planned game. Two master tacticians went head to head, and eventually Coach Perry became victorious, and that was a very, very good final.
I think that's the biggest point I've heard from someone, because a lot of people have said that maybe Red Arrows underrated us. No, I don't think so. If you saw the lineup, like you have just said, I think Thomas plays in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah, he's strong, and we knew that since he can hold the ball and he can mark, that's why we had to put him on Chepesh.
On Chepesh, yes.
So there's nothing like Red Arrows underrated us.
Exactly.
I think the plan.
I totally agree with you, Coach Perry. You and I had that discussion even prior to that tournament. We could see.
And kudos to the boys. They stuck to the plan. And the first day, in fact, in that week, we only trained twice, because the rest of the days we are just doing it on the board. Yeah.
That's the same discussion that I was about to come to say. Much of that week, Coach Perry, I remember very well, every time I could place a call on you and say, Coach, how is the training program? You would say, my boys are relaxing. We will probably have a boardroom discussion. And that boardroom discussion, congratulations to all the NAPSA Stars players who participated in that final and all the games leading to that final, for keeping the discipline of making sure that coach's tactics were stuck to. Whether at the time when you considered against Green Buffaloes, discipline outstood and everything else remained intact, seeing Red Arrows being beaten in that very, very final. And now, Coach, shifting our focus to the next assignment that you have. You are back in the Zambian Super League, and preparations are ongoing, and we are seeing quite a lot of teams that are busy in the transfer market. Are we seeing anything being added to the NAPSA Stars squad? Of course, one known player that has come back, who was on loan at Zesco United, is one Dixon Chapa, the veteran captain that was away on loan, is back. Are we seeing any other new players coming to train with NAPSA Stars as you prepare for the coming season?
Yes, obviously welcoming Dixon, went to Zesco, played in Continental, played for the team which came second. Obviously, it brings the much-needed experience, because the Super League is different. As much as the Eden is tough, obviously because of some other technicalities, yes, but we shouldn't run away from the Super League. If you are not prepared, you go back quickly from where you came from. So for us, I think we are going to make sure we prepare very well and obviously stabilize the ship. So the coming of Dixon and other guys we are going to unveil. Soon we are going to unveil some players, and obviously the most important thing is to stay in the Premier League.
Are you letting go of any players coming to the end of the season? Because I know the players that are coming in probably are still a secret out there. But if you're releasing any players, do you have any plans to release any players, or you are trying to maintain the same team and just add to the depth of the team, looking at the caliber of the league that you are joining into?
Yeah, we have released some number of players, but obviously not a lot. So it's not a secret, but you will hear. Yes, sir.
I think my question to the coach, going into the coming season, the last few years we've always had teams always saying our target is to try and finish in the top 4, because we had 4 slots, but now it has reduced to 2. What's the realistic position that you think NAPSA Stars can finish this season? What's your target as NAPSA Football Club?
Yeah, I think for now, yeah, like I said, we came from a tough league. But obviously the most important thing is to stay in the Premier League and then see how the plans will be. But of course, in football sometimes you can't predict. Let's see the league how it will go, the first few games, and then you have another plan.
Well, that's Coach Perry talking about the plans that NAPSA Stars have for the coming season. I think I'll give you one assignment, Coach Perry. I know NAPSA Stars will give you their own KPIs, but my KPI to you is go on and defend that ABSA, because ABSA has 6 slots. Remember, we were discussing the 4,
Exactly.
now there's 2, but in
ABSA still has 4. 6 in the Premier League and 2 in
yes, 6 in the Premier
slots.
League.
Yes.
So your role now is to maintain ABSA Stars.
First round top 6.
Better, so that you're able to defend. It will be very, very disappointing to find yourself being defending champions and you are nowhere near the top 6 and you'll be watching from the terraces, just like some other team.
And Coach, before you go, just your words to the NAPSA Stars fans.
No, I think the supporters, they were always there for us, and what they did, I think I remember there was a game in Kafue and in Mazabuka. We drew and we lost the other one. They were just singing for the team for 90 minutes, and that's what we need. I think in Zambia it's time we needed the supporters to be the top player, and if they are going to be there for the team, I think we are going to do our part as well.
Well, we've been hosting one Coach Perry Mtapa, NAPSA Stars Football Club head coach, award-winning coach. The only competition in Zambia, ABSA Cup, has been backed by NAPSA Stars, and it's always a pleasure to host such a busy man who's been very, very elusive. I've been trying to get hold of him for quite a bit so that he can just come and share with us on how daring he has been to these big clubs. And now, Coach Perry, the demand that you created for yourself, the discipline that you've created for yourself, we've seen where you are coming from, Forest Rangers, you went to Power Dynamos, now you are at NAPSA Stars, and you are building a very, very strong institution for yourself as an individual. What is your word to your fellow young coaches out there that have that self-belief, but they do not have teams that can believe in them?
The most important thing, I think, in football is about the project. I remember at Forest, I think we did that in the first year and second year. The third year, I think, where they qualified, I think
Continental.
we left them at the position where they were in those brackets of qualifying. So for me, football is a project. So I think sometimes the administrators, they put too much pressure. You can't just go to a team and they tell you to deliver when you don't know the quality, the philosophy, the players, they don't know. And one of the reasons I think I came to NAPSA was starting from Division 1, I think if most of the players are going to stay, I think we have enough time for the project. And I think which is going to continue even in the Super Division. So it's about having a project. Football, I think German won the World Cup. 2014. The project was started when most of the guys were out. They were 10 years old. They picked them. But here we just want someone.
Instant results.
Instant results. So it's not easy. So for me, because football is tough, sometimes you lose, you win, you draw, but you have to pick up the pieces and obviously continue believing in what you know will work for the team, in what you know will work for the players. That's the most important thing.
Augustine, your final remarks?
My final question is your life as a coach, how important does the family play? Because there are times when you lose games, things don't go your way, but how important is your family during those periods?
I think my wife has been very supportive because she understands football. Obviously, being with her for 22 years, yesterday was our 22nd anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Yeah, so she has been there. When I was a player, we lose. Maybe I'm sad, but now I think she's one person who's always there to encourage. But we have, I have a son, For him, it's difficult when we lose. Most of the time, you see the eyes are red. Sometimes, especially at Power Dynamos, there was a time when we lost to Zesco United and some other teams. I think he used to cry. Up to now, I think you can see when you lose, you just have to look at him and you have to encourage him. But I think the family has been supportive, and obviously coming from a football background, we know in football there are only three things.
Well, a very, very, very big thank you to Mrs. Mutapa for the support and the encouragement that you give your husband, who is a very, very young coach and talented coach. And now we come to the end of the show where we have to say our goodbyes. And remember, keep watching Camnet TV, because Camnet is not just another channel. We'll see you next weekend. I've been your host in the absence of Amos, aka Amore. My name is Rabson.
Scombe.
Mainly call me, these two here in the studio, Amos and Augustine, they like calling me Uncle Rabson. This has been Uncle Rabson signing. A very big thank you to our viewers for tuning in, and we'll see you next weekend when we host another show Off the Pitch that comes to you on your screens every Saturday morning at 9:30 hours. Have a lovely morning. See you next weekend.